every veteran has had the experience of going to a film or sitting in front of his television or her television and seeing something and saying, "Oh God, no, we'd never do that," or his beret looks like a pizza plate sitting on top of his head. We've all had that experience, and it takes you right out of the story. Boom, you're through. It doesn't make a difference what else is good. That little piece of minutia to Hollywood, certainly not to us veterans. It takes you right out of the story. And I guess when I got out and began to look into it, when I began to investigate, I said, that's easy. That's an easy fix. Why the hell they would allow it to go on screen in the first place is beyond me. But it's an easy fix. You can go in and you can shape the beret. You can put the brass on right. You can get the ribbons in the right situation. You can tell them that we didn't carry M16s in World War II. You can do all of those things. But those were superficial in my view. What I found missing was they didn't understand a soldier's spirit. They didn't understand our heart. They didn't understand our mind. They didn't understand our psychology. They didn't understand how we relate to each other and why we relate to each other in that fashion. And so I said, this goes deeper. This goes deeper than gaffes, pictorial gaffes about our uniforms or our weapons or our tactics. This goes to the heart of a soldier. This goes to the spirit of a warrior. And that's what they don't get. That's what they don't understand. And so that then became my modus operandi. That became the way I wanted to go at this. Really, what I wanted to do was take these young actors who are portraying us as military people, and get it in their mind who we are, how we think, how we feel, how we express ourselves. And that was a challenge, because nobody had ever really attempted to do that. Up until that time, they would look at me and they'd say, "Di, it's called acting. That's why people do it this way." And I said, no, that's just wrong. It's bad acting. It's a bad portrayal of who we are and what we think and how we relate to each other. So that kind of became my raison d'etre. That became how I wanted to approach this. It was unique. It was not something that Hollywood thought they needed. And I was able, through some success, to prove that they did need it. And if they were willing to follow my lead on this, they would produce massive successes, because people would get the truth, get the reality. People know when you're lying to them. They inherently know when you're lying to them.
Your first boardroom pitch. Tell me about that first time you sat down with the director and tried to sell him on your concept, and how you drew on your personal experience in the field for that conversation.
Well, I got to kind of answer that in two parts, Tony. My first pitch really was very lucky. It was a stroke of luck. It was with Oliver Stone, who was himself a combat veteran. We're political opposites, but that's neither here nor there, because he wanted to make a film that I thought was important, because I thought it was going to give audiences a look at the Vietnam experience, which is an ugly experience, military experience in general. Although all combat experiences are ugly in one fashion or another, this one had a special place in my heart, because I had been multiple tours in Vietnam. And so I shaped the pitch, if you will, by saying, nobody is going to understand who we were at 19 and what we went through in that jungle and that sort of thing, unless I can introduce them to it, unless I can force feed them that situation. Then they'll understand it, and that understanding will come through in their portrayals. Now, at that point, nobody in Hollywood would have bought that argument. But Stone did. And the reason he did was because he had personal experience as a combat infantryman. He got it. He understood training. He understood that it shapes your worldview. It shapes your performance from day to day.
When it came to working on films that were in different eras and different environments, what was the challenge of transitioning to those?
I wanted to shine some long overdue and much deserved light on the men and women who wore our uniform or are wearing it now. And how are you going to serve that objective? How are you going to serve that agenda? They're not going to make every movie that's being done is not going to be about Vietnam. Every movie that's being done is not going to be about Beirut, Lebanon. And so what are you going to do here? And it occurred to me that the answer was I had to become a bit of a historian. I had to become a bit of an expert on everything. My motto in my company, Warriors Incorporated, is we'll do anything from Peloponnesian Wars to Star Wars. And we literally have done that. But I knew that I had to become a historian. I had to become a researcher. I had to be able to go out and talk to people. And the fact that, films I had worked on won a couple of Academy Awards really helped that. It gave me kind of access.
Tell me the challenges and the rewards to translating all of the, as you said, dry, historical, technical details to a rich emotional detail. How do you take it beyond the props and put it, into the actors? Just walk me through a traditional boot camp.
Well, I think if you're going to make a transition between physical portrayals and an understanding that will allow you to do a better portrayal, or a truer portrayal, you have to reach down inside yourself. You have to look at how you became who you are, how you became the professional military man that you are. And in so doing, it occurred to me, and this should be no surprise to anybody who's ever been through officer candidate school or basic training, it's about an indoctrination. It's about changing your mind. It's about squeezing all of the civilian crapola out of your head and saying, okay, now this is a blank slate. Let me build upon it. And that's essentially, I realized immediately, well, that's what's missing here. What's missing is training the actors, putting them, immersing them fully in that environment so that there's no outside influences. There aren't any cell phones and there aren't any agents calling, wanting to know how's your hair. I wanted them to live the life of a soldier and thereby come to an understanding of how we think and who we are and how we act. And that's essentially what I did. I said, okay, look, you're not going to like this, Mr. and Mrs. Hollywood. But I want to take your actors, your pampered performers, and I want to put them in the boots of a soldier or an airman or a Marine or a sailor. And I want them to live that life for a period. And if you'll allow me to do that, there will come an understanding of the material they're supposed to portray that will just sing. It will just vibrate with truth. And lo and behold, that was correct.
Is there a continuity, a through line that you see that runs through the poems, the novels, the films, the best works that recount the experience of war? And is there a specific way that you impart that?
Yeah, I think so, Tony. I think to impart the reality that I'm known for bringing to television and motion pictures, it's about verisimilitude. It's about truth. You have to find out what that truth is, and that takes looking inside yourself. There's some fuzzy-headed navel gazing about all this. You have to be able to touch things that the average guy or gal doesn't normally touch, kind of avoids. You have to be able to say, okay, it was a bitch kitty of an experience to see my buddy die right next to me, to see his head blown off. But I got to go there. I got to go there if I'm going to talk about it, if I'm going to make people try to understand that element of the experience. And some people would say, well, no, don't do that. People don't need to know that. I argue. I differ. I think people do need to know that in order to understand our military and to empathize with the situations we face as professional military men and women every day. I think they do need to understand it. They do need an understanding of who we are, what we're about, how we think, how we react.
What stories did you carry with you? What novels really resonated with you?
I carried a few things with me constantly. For those dead times that we all know about, when you're sitting on your pack and you're waiting for the aircraft, or you're waiting for the trucks to pick you up, or you're waiting to move out. I was always reading. And look, I'm a rock and roller. I'll just tell you that, and you can deal with it. I love Hunter Thompson, and I love books like Catch 22 because of the absurdity in it. I just, writing that entertains me, inspires me to continue to tell stories I mean, I love James Jones' work. Some of his lesser known work, like Whistle, are fascinating books. I carried Heinlein's Starship Troopers in my pack for the longest time. I mean, it's threadbare. Catch 22 is the same. Those things, while they're filled with absurdities, in my view, reflect how absurd military life can be at times. And I enjoy that. I laughed at it. It never frustrated me so much as it did entertain me.
It's hard to deny the pop cultural presence of Top Gun. And with Top Gun 2 coming out in the near future, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that film.
I do have some thoughts about Top Gun and Top Gun 2, if you will. And I know Tom Cruise, the actor. I trained him for Born on the 4th of July, so I'm kind of familiar. And I played his dad in a film called Night and Day. So I kind of know the guy, and I know what he's after, and I know what his agenda is. But Top Gun, what fascinates me about it is the Navy's love-hate relationship with Top Gun. The Navy hates it that Top Gun aviators, fighter aces, fighter jocks, hot sticks, will be viewed as romantic, scarf in the wind, devil may care, woman chaser, skirt chaser, hard drinker, hard partiers. Now, fighter pilots love that. That image is cool with them. But big Navy isn't very cool with that, and it's not very PC. I'm interested to see how Tom and his producers will handle that, because they understand the power of the medium, and they want to please the Navy, and they want the Navy to think of this. But the Navy says, "Oh God, we really want the power of this project," and enlistments just jump when a film like Top Gun comes out. On the other hand, we don't want people thinking that that's what naval aviation is about. Well, to some extent, it is what naval aviation is about, as far as the PC police will let you go. So I'm fascinated to see how Tom and his producers are going to handle this. I haven't seen Top Gun 2.
So what are some of the most rewarding conversations that you've seen started thanks to a more realistic portrayal of service members and active duty in the field over the years? And what are some of the things you've seen when it comes to actors and the way they've engaged with the military community once they truly come to understand what it's like to serve?
Well, look, I think a number of things have come out of some of the projects I've worked on. I think back in the sad 80s, when we brought Platoon out, that war was so controversial and so divisive that people didn't want to talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Some people were hiding the fact that they'd served in Southeast Asia. We brought Platoon out, and like it or not, whether you think it's an accurate portrayal of the United States Army experience in Vietnam or not, what it did was create a conversation. What it did was create a talking point. What it did was provide veterans of that conflict an opportunity to take their family to the film and say, look, this is tough. This is going to be rough on you. But this is part of the reason why I can't talk about it, or why I don't want to talk about it. So it had a large sociological impact. The same thing is true, I think, in some of the World War II films I've done. Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers, The Pacific. In each case, the popularity of that film, in particular, made for television miniseries, as is the case with Band of Brothers and The Pacific. What it's done is created an interest in World War II and the people who fought World War II. And those things make me proud. When that happens, I say, my theory was right to some extent, and I have contributed to an understanding of our American military and what it means to serve and sacrifice.